A home break-in forces a woman to hide for over an hour. We talked to her as she relives the terrifying moments and shares her frustrations with police. More victims fighting back against criminals in Baltimore.
People are at a boiling point when it comes to being the victim.
The dangers when people take justice into their own hands. Then, we're tracking the next round of showers as we get closer to Thanksgiving. Our Weather Authority team is timing out the impact to your travel plans.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 4.
We are following breaking news tonight. A second suspect in the Morgan State shooting has been arrested. 18-year-old Javon Williams facing attempted murder charges for his alleged role in the campus shooting last month. 5 people were injured in that shooting. Police identified Williams as a suspect soon after the shooting. He was arrested in D.C. last week. One other person, a 17-year-old suspect, is facing charges for the Morgan State shooting.
Fox 45 News is following 3 big stories tonight. Police say teens are going from rooftop to rooftop, breaking into Baltimore homes. We pressed police for answers on why one woman had to wait over an hour for help after her home was burglarized.
With a lack of faith, the city will get crime under control. Some are taking justice into their own hands. A closer look at the danger that can come when people lose faith in police.
First, changing travel conditions as thousands of drivers hoping to hit the road tomorrow. We look ahead to your travel forecast and what to expect on Thanksgiving Day. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kai Jackson.
And I'm Mary Bubala. Looking live at conditions around the state tonight. A sunny afternoon in Towson, the Inner Harbor, and beyond. But get ready because rain is on the way. Chief Meteorologist Jonathan Myers timing out the forecast, especially for those hitting the road tomorrow. Jonathan?
Yeah, Mary, Kai, the next weather maker moving at us, and it's going to come in probably some really poor timing. You see here, winter weather advisories into mountainous western Maryland, as well as portions of West Virginia, western Pennsylvania. If you have travels out toward Pittsburgh, and there's all of the rain. Take a look, lots of it coming all the way up the Mississippi Valley and pushing north and eastbound. So here we go. It looks like tonight's going to be fine. Tomorrow's okay too. But I should say, today, the rest of today should be fine. But as we head into tomorrow, as well as early Wednesday, the potential of some good rain coming our way. I'm timing everything out for you. Going to let you know when it's going to be worst. That's all coming up in my Weather Authority forecast. Plus, if things are going to improve for Turkey Day in a couple of minutes.
Put the power of the Weather Authority Storm Center in your hands. Download the free WBFF Weather Authority app for your smartphone and use our powerful Doppler radar to follow storms to your street. Go to your app store and search WBFF to get started.
Groups of teens scaling homes and breaking in through roofs. It's happened to one mother who had to wait for over an hour for police to respond. The scary situation comes as more people are taking justice into their own hands to protect themselves from the crime crisis.
We have team coverage tonight, starting with Rebecca Pryor, who spoke with a woman whose home was broken into. Rebecca?
Yeah, that's right. I'm told that terrifying break-in has just shattered her sense of security, but not just because her sleep was suddenly interrupted by a masked man, but because police took, as you said, over an hour to respond. She says it all happened mere minutes after tucking her 2 young girls, ages 3 and 1, into bed. What she thought were the sounds of her husband coming home, she claims was actually teenagers breaking in through her top deck door and her back door. After coming face to face with one of the intruders, she grabbed her children and barricaded them inside a nearby bedroom. She then called 911, hoping help would be just around the corner, but she claims that was far from the case.
An hour police response time is deplorable. It's just horrible. And it does not make me feel comfortable living here knowing that that's how long it takes to get help when you really need it.
Now, Canton's Councilman Zeke Cohen, he says he agrees it is unacceptable how long it took police to get here. He says he called BPD leadership. They got back to him saying that they would be investigating this incident. But that's not the response that I received from BPD today. Coming up tonight at 5, I'll explain why police told me they responded as quickly as they could. But for now, reporting live in Canton, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
Rebecca, thank you. Well, this is not the first time we've heard concerns over Baltimore police response time. Last month, City Councilman Eric Costello sounded the alarm after this robbery in his district. A man on a scooter was approached by two cars. When the passengers got out, they threatened him, stole his wallet, then chased him as he ran away. Councilman Costello says despite a 911 call from the victim, officers did not follow up with an investigation, never contacted the victim again, and didn't look for security footage of the attack.
The councilman doubled down on his criticism of police response times last week and endorsed Sheila Dixon for mayor.
Our residents deserve quality and reliable city services in neighborhoods where we all feel safe, regardless of whether or not it's an election year. Day in and day out, I hear from constituents who want basics like trash and recycling that is picked up on time, roads that are paved, and police and city agencies that are responsive to our residents.
Costello also voiced concern with the ongoing juvenile crime crisis. Two of the young people arrested in connection with the Brooklyn Day mass shooting in July were wearing ankle monitors, one of them just 14 years old. Now, those arrests raising questions about how DJS tracks children under its supervision. 16-year-old Khalil Jones was shot and killed during an attempted robbery on Bowleys Lane. Police say he'd been arrested for an attempted carjacking over the summer. And last month, two 15-year-olds were charged for a shooting in front of Carver High School. Police say both of those teens and a 16-year-old Carver student were hurt when the two fired at each other.
The slow response to juvenile crime has some city residents fighting for themselves. Baltimore police say a man chased down a teen who tried to steal his car, then held him until officers arrived. It's the latest example of citizens fighting back against criminals. Alexa Ashwell joins us live with the concern. Alexa?
Well, Guy, investigators say the teen had to be taken to the hospital for minor injuries, but in some of these cases, we're seeing the suspect or even the victim seriously hurt or even killed.
It was in this parking lot on Hullabird Avenue in Southeast Baltimore where police say a 16-year-old attempted to steal a man's car over the weekend. The victim fighting back and holding down the teen until officers arrived, taking him into custody. Thankfully, no one was hurt, but that hasn't always been the case.
1201 North Patterson Park, 10 rounds.
Just last week, police sources confirmed a 13-year-old and a 14-year-old were shot by someone they were attempting to rob at gunpoint in Southeast Baltimore. And last month, a 16-year-old was killed after he was shot during an attempted armed robbery in Northeast Baltimore.
I was in the kitchen and heard gunshot.
Investigators later revealing he was also involved in the attempted carjacking of an off-duty police officer who also opened fire on the teens in self-defense earlier this year. But the victims aren't always coming out on top. You may recall Daryl Benner shot and killed just steps from his home in Canton after attempting to intervene with suspects who were stealing his nephew's car.
He just came out here in a selfless act, trying to defend me and my property.
Here, surveillance video of that armed robbery that led to the shooting.
He did take his final breath laying in my lap, covered in blood.
The suspects have yet to be identified or arrested.
So I think there's frustration.
Frustration that people are living in fear and in some cases having to defend themselves.
You should always be situationally aware, but the fact is it's really hard to defend against a crime when you're, going about your day and a car rolls up and comes to a stop behind you, and then within 10 seconds you're surrounded by people with handguns.
It's a frustration law enforcement expert Melissa Pinkleton understands.
I do think people are at a boiling point when it comes to being the victim.
But a quick fix, she says, not likely.
Baltimore's down over 400 officers. That absolutely is directly related to call response time, officers on the street to prevent crime.
Now back to this latest case. Investigators say the teen was transported to the Department of Juvenile Services, but what happens from there, of course, unknown to the public, which some say is part of the problem when it comes to consequence and accountability. Reporting live in North Baltimore, Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
Making headlines, a bomb threat forces an evacuation at Owings Mills High School in Baltimore County this morning. Police say around 9 a.m. officers cleared the school and they did search it. Police did determine, however, that threat was not credible.
The former mayor of College Park, Patrick Wohan, is sentenced to spend 30 years in prison. In March, Wohan was arrested after a Prince George's Police Department investigation into a tip that someone in the county was distributing child pornography. He pleaded guilty to more than 60 counts of distributing child porn and 40 counts of possession of child pornography. Wohan resigned shortly before his arrest.
A new angle in the search for Rachel Morin's killer. A law firm representing her family has asked Los Angeles area schools to hand out flyers with the suspect's picture on them. They say DNA from the scene of Morin's killing is linked to a crime in Los Angeles where a suspect is captured on security camera footage. The poster is circulating in hopes of picking up new leads in Los Angeles. Despite the murder taking place over 3 months ago, local law enforcement claims the case has not gone cold.
The Hartford County executive pushing back against claims he was open to migrants coming to his community, why he and his county councilman are at odds over a letter.
Making sure the skies stay friendly if you're heading to the airport tomorrow or later this week. New recommendations from the TSA.
And next, will paying restaurant employees more help or hurt? Weighing the option as a potentially expensive idea is floated in Baltimore.
And the commute forecast for this evening on a shortened work week. It looks like some extra clouds, 5, 6, 7 o'clock, but holiday getaways planned for tomorrow could be a whole different story. I'm going to let you know how long rain lasts and how heavy it could be in my Weather Authority forecast.
Fox 45 News, winner of 16 2022 Regional Emmy Awards, more than all other Baltimore news stations combined.
In a city in crisis, Fox 45 News has learned there's legislation being drafted to raise the minimum wage for tipped workers in Baltimore City. Amy Simpson is live right now with what she's learning. Amy.
Kai, so far there's no official sign of this legislation on City Council's agenda, but there is an online event advertising for a rally over this issue at City Hall on December 6th. Right now, the state's minimum wage for tipped workers is $3.63 an hour, with the difference being made up in tips by customers. But an online page for a group called One Fair Wage right now is pushing to raise that hourly rate to the state's minimum wage, which is set to hit $15 an hour coming up on January 1st, 2024. But some in the restaurant industry say that this effort would actually be bad news to raise the minimum wage for tipped workers. They say it would raise costs for businesses, potentially prompting price increases and mandatory service charges for customers. And today, a Little Italy business owner shared her perspective on the impact for workers.
It's going to put a hurting on a lot of restaurants. The guests will assume that they're getting paid $15 an hour. They will not tip. And in 90% of the situations, that means that that server will be making less than they did before.
Now, I've reached out to the member of Baltimore City's council reportedly drafting this legislation. We'd like to know what exactly this proposal will say and when they're planning to introduce it, but so far, no response. Reporting live tonight, Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
Amy, thank you. Meantime, rising food costs are putting a strain on restaurants and families. Since the start of the pandemic, food prices have increased 25%. According to the Department of Agriculture, as of September, food costs are up more than 5% from 2022.
The high costs are forcing now many low-income families to turn to food banks for help. Food bank CEOs say that they're seeing the worst rate of hunger in years, with more families in need and high food costs. The food bank's budgets are also running out. If you donate this year, officials say shelf-stable items like peanut butter and jelly, canned tuna, and boxed macaroni and cheese are some of the foods you can give.
Well, the first step in a new Deer Park Elementary School today, a groundbreaking. Baltimore County school system leaders were joined by the county executive to mark the occasion. Local leaders promising the new multi-million-dollar school will have state-of-the-art classrooms, facilities, and will be the county's first net zero elementary school, all while helping address overcrowding issues throughout the county school system.
It's across the entire region, and as we're creating these amazing new 21st century spaces that affirms and lifts up our students, our families, and our staff, we're also doing so in a way that we recognize the importance of our environment and with a nod to sustainability. We're very proud that this will be Baltimore County's first net zero school. We're leading the way not just for the region, but our state in breaking ground on this today.
The school is scheduled to open in 2025.
Well, at BWI Thurgood Marshall Airport, TSA is breaking for holiday travel. Members of the staff today warned the public proper preparation before you get in line could be the difference between making and missing your flight.
Along with travel experts across the industry, we anticipate that this will be the busiest travel period in several years. Airline and passenger traffic have grown, reaching levels not seen since the pandemic.
Well, it's not just the airport you should be prepared for. 964,000 Marylanders are expected to hit the road this week. If you're one of the thousands planning to make that long drive tomorrow, you may be doing that in some rainy conditions.
Meteorologist Jonathan Myers here now with our Thanksgiving week forecast. Jonathan?
Yeah. As we mentioned, could be a little bit messy for travels tomorrow. I think tomorrow is actually the messiest day of the week. Okay. So if you can plan around that, it's probably the time to go. Throw the stuff in the car, go now. Right now, if you can. Right now actually is a pretty good time. If you were preparing on leaving this evening, we should be okay. I think rain develops tomorrow morning, and then it could get potentially heavy tomorrow afternoon, and there could even be some ice as you take a look out to the west in portions of West Virginia, as well as Western Maryland, and also some of the higher elevations of Pennsylvania. You kind of know the usual suspects when the weather gets cold. So if you do have travels west, that's going to be a problem. Otherwise, it will be all rain for us. You can see this next weather maker here with all kinds of rain that's right around St. Louis. And then there's even some, this is a very dynamic system, tornadic potential down across the lower Mississippi Valley. So this thing's going to be a big old mess as it moves eastbound. And again, we are going to get some of this as well. Not severe weather, not ice and snow, but it will be rain. It may be a good amount. We need rain. We're running a moderate drought now. So that'll be helpful. We just don't like the timing. Clouds for now. There's your rain with that next weather maker that's moving across portions of the Gulf Coast. And the clouds are beginning to gradually increase right now. Toyota East Inner Harbor sky cam, at least a veil of high clouds, 48 degrees, winds out of the east at about 7. Humidity still fairly low, so we have some time until this rain really gets here. But right now, temperatures are in the mid 40s here in Baltimore, mid to upper 40s, we'll say. Columbia, mid to upper 40s, and some temperatures generally in the 40s, actually area wide. This is running anywhere between at least about 9 to 15 to almost 20 degrees cooler in spots than yesterday. So your evening planner as we head through tonight, temperatures dipping down through the 40s through about 9 p.m. and 11 p.m. If you have any travels out of the airport, should be A-OK, at least weather-wise. But take a look at what happens here as we work not only through this afternoon and this evening, just some clouds. Temperatures are going to be settling into the 30s tonight. Thankfully, none of this precipitation moving in that early, because then we'd have some other types of problems. But as the temperatures begin to rise back through the 40s by about 9, 10 o'clock tomorrow morning and through lunchtime, yep, there's the rain. On and off rain could become heavy at times into tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening for the rush hour home, as well as potentially any travels to grandma's house for turkey for Thanksgiving. Again, I think Wednesday is going to be a better day as the last of this rain does begin to move east. And I think for Wednesday, we're expecting that after about 1 to 3 inches of beneficial rain, we're going to be seeing temperatures rising into the mid to upper 50s and drying skies. Some early clouds, some PM sun. Thursday, good looking day for Thanksgiving, 56. Black Friday sales should be okay. Temperatures in the 50s. Dry day now, it appears, on Saturday, but showers could again move in for Sunday and maybe even into Monday.
A battle over rumors that migrants were headed to Harford County. Why a local councilman and the county executive are butting heads in their response.
I'm Scott Thuman in Washington, where President Biden turned 81 on Monday. So what does that mean for his re-election chances?
President Biden turns 81 years old today. He is marking the milestone with a low-key family celebration, as well as the time-honored pre-Thanksgiving annual turkey pardon. President Biden is already the oldest president in U.S. history. If elected in 2024, he would be 86 at the end of his term. Polls show the president's age is a major concern for voters. Some of his critics wondering if he is fit to serve a second term. Sinclair's chief political correspondent Scott Thuman takes a closer look.
This is the 76th anniversary of this event. I want you to know I wasn't there in the first one.
That age-old tradition of pardoning turkeys before Thanksgiving, but it's the age of the pardoner getting more attention as President Biden Monday turned 81 years old.
Congratulations, birds.
And as he runs for re-election, murmurs about his ability are growing louder.
I would put the president's stamina, president's wisdom, ability to get this done on behalf of the American people against anyone.
It's not just the actual age issue. After all, he may potentially have a rematch against Donald Trump, who would be 78 on Election Day himself. But it's mental fitness that's being examined. Less than a third of Americans think Biden is competent to do the job, and 64% say they're worried about his health and mental acuity. Should he win, he would be 86 at the end of a second term, and there's no arguing that one of the most important jobs in the world can certainly take a toll. Of the last two presidents who served 8 years, George W. Bush and Barack Obama looked noticeably different, although there's no way to tell just how President Biden would hold up after another 5 years on the job. In the meantime, CNN reports Biden's staff is trying to eliminate his gaffes and project vigor, getting him orthotics to help with his stiff gait and provide him smaller, shorter stairs for boarding Air Force One. Though pundits say there's a way Democrats should pitch it to voters.
Do they choose the president who has aged into wisdom and empathy and experience? Or do they choose Trump, who has aged into kind of chaos and anger and narcissism?
Of course, that's still almost a year away, and voters have yet to decide if it'll really be a septuagenarian-octogenarian showdown. In Washington, I'm Scott Thuman.
Examining the biggest hurdles for Mayor Brandon Scott's re-election effort, pressing him on why voters should trust him with a second term as Baltimore's leader. And up next, the Harford County executive and a county council member remain at odds over an issue they seem to agree on. We hear from both sides amid claims over a political grudge after the break.
There's confusion in Harford County over a request to house hundreds of migrants. The county executive and a councilman are at odds over the request, despite both being on the same side of the issue.
That's right. Last week, a group of Harford County hotel and motel owners sent a letter to the county government asking if they would be allowed to house migrants from New York at their facilities in Harford County. That request led to a letter from County Councilman Aaron Penman to County Executive Bob Casserly, calling for him to deny the migrants' move to Maryland. This morning on Fox 45 Morning News, Casserly told our Megan Gillen he never planned on letting migrants into Harford County, and he's taking issue with some of Penman's comments on his response.
This was an outfit who was basically contracting with New York City.
So you never said that you wanted to have those immigrants come to live to Harford County?
No. That was never, there was never an invitation, suggestion, or anything else, in fact. So.
Do you have any intention of having that in the future?
No, there's no, that's an absolute non-starter.
Where do you think the confusion came in? Why did the councilman assume that you were in favor of that?
Yeah, look, this is a councilman this is his, I think, fourth false allegation against my administration. He's got some vendettas he's pursuing, and that's unfortunate. This is not the kind of matter that you ought to be just throwing around and playing politics with. This is very serious.
Well, tonight we're joined by Councilman Aaron Penman. Councilman Penman, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for the opportunity, Mary and Kai. I appreciate it.
All right, the county executive believes you have a grudge against him, and that grudge informed your response to the migrant request. Explain your side of the story and why you responded the way you did.
Thank you, Mary. Yeah, I was concerned for the community. I felt the community needed to learn of this so they can have an understanding and provide input to the county executive. At no point did I say the county executive would be in support of undocumented immigrants coming to our county. That was in my press release. I just wanted the community to weigh in on it, because what I didn't want is buses coming in the middle of the night and undocumented immigrants getting off at our local hotels. I thought it should be a conversation with the community so we can weigh in on it. So the original information that I received is that the county executive's administration was having a meeting, and if you watch any of the your Allied broadcast, there was a report from Mohammed Fahmy, which is the Greater Baltimore Area Motel Consortium, who indicated that they do in fact have a meeting on Tuesday. Again, I'm not pretending that the county executive is going to be supportive of this, but there is an ongoing conversation, and if we're going to have a conversation, I felt the community should be involved in that conversation.
Councilman Penman, you and the county executive seem to be on the same side of the issue where this is concerned. Both of you saying that you don't want this in Harford County. Can you explain to our viewers why keeping migrants out of the county is one of your goals?
Well, it's because of the infrastructure. I mean, we just had some development issues here where our infrastructure just needs to be, supported. We need to have some more funding. The roadways, the schools, the social services resources, we're inundated into those. And if we add 115 undocumented immigrant families here in Harford County, that's going to inundate our resources. And I just felt that the community should know. And frankly, I was disappointed that this didn't first come from the county executive's office. So he can involve those stakeholders in that conversation, such as the sheriff's office, the state's attorney's office. So I wanted to include the community members, and therefore I did a press release so they could be a part of that conversation. And as far as the county executives, claim that this is personal, this is not personal. There's a lot of issues that are taking place. I hope to work with him and support him on this. But his claim that I'm the only legislator that has issues with him, that's just not true either. I mean, if you remember recently, the state's attorney's office had a press conference with some issues they had with him recently about him blocking access to the server. The sheriff has had issues, and he's advocated for 2 council members, including myself, to be off of the council just recently. So I just don't agree with that. And as far as the frivolous, unjustified attacks, if you're referring to the misappropriations of funds, the illegal wiretapping, the coercion of the state's attorney's office, and seeking funds to fund criminal investigation attorneys to represent his staff, those aren't petty. I believe in transparency. To checks and balances in government. We have the county executive branch and the legislative branch. And the legislative branch is there to provide insight, transparency, and hold accountable. And that's what I'm doing in my role.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Penman. We appreciate your input today. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Elected leaders still have a few months to file their next ethics disclosure forms, but it's what some did not provide in previous filings that is raising some questions. Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost joins us live. Mackenzie, what are you learning?
Hey guys, so Councilman Robert Stokes bought 2 vacant properties from the city back in 2022, but he didn't disclose them on his last ethics filing, and we wanted to know why.
Good morning.
During the city spending board meeting in August of 2022,
all in favor, please say aye. Aye. And all those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. The routine agenda has been adopted.
City Councilman Robert Stokes getting the green light to purchase 2 dilapidated vacant homes the city owned for 2 decades. Those homes in the Oliver community and along Broadway on a crisp Monday morning. The sound of home renovation fills the air as building material is carted inside. The property's now under the ownership of an LLC Stokes has a 49% ownership of. The company, North and Broadway Aquo LLC, seen here on his 2022 ethics disclosure, described as an entity formed for real estate ownership purposes. But the 2 vacant homes Stokes bought for $18,000 total, absent from that disclosure.
A big concern that I have is property ownership.
David Williams is a taxpayer watchdog. He argues these disclosure forms are key for transparency. Elected leaders are required to disclose any business they may have on the side outside of holding office. They're also required to disclose spousal income, property investments, or other boards they may serve on.
There is a huge question of conflict of interest as to how much they're paying for it, their involvement in development companies, and just how much they're going to profit from these properties.
Reached by text message, Councilman Stokes says he did not omit anything from his 2022 disclosure. Rather, there was nothing to report because he did not close on those homes until February of this year. Stokes' business partner in his company, Ernst Valerie. Valerie also runs Aquo Fund, which is an entity that invests in Black, brown, women, and immigrant real estate developers. Stokes did not do an interview with Fox 45 News, but says he's excited about buying and supporting a community in my district by rehabbing vacant buildings that were a blight in the community. Now, the Ethics Board says that whenever a property is sold and finalized, that's the year that someone should disclose them on their ethics filings. Councilman Stokes tells me he does intend to disclose these 2 properties on his upcoming ethics disclosure forms, which are due in January. We're live in the newsroom. Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Mackenzie, thank you. Well, another council person is facing questions about his side gig. The Baltimore Banner outlining several members' extra income, including Zeke Cohen's consulting work with Open Society Foundations. On his 2022 ethics disclosure form, Cohen says he helps leaders create plans to implement trauma-informed care. He says his consulting work is done in cities outside of Baltimore, but he did disclose his contracting work with Open Society with several Baltimore City agencies. Open Society Foundations was founded by George Soros in 1979. Now it funds groups and projects in more than 120 countries. David Williams weighing in on this as well.
This is something voters should pay very close attention to. Very curious to see Zeke have these 2 different lives play out.
Well, this isn't the first time Soros has been involved with elected leaders in Baltimore. In 2019, then City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby went to Portugal with a group that has received millions of dollars from Open Society. When she came back, she announced she would no longer prosecute drug possession crimes. Cohen tells Fox 45 News he stands by his work, saying his experience has allowed him to learn what other places are doing to address mental health and bring that knowledge back to Baltimore.
Mayor Brandon Scott is officially running for re-election, making the announcement this past weekend. The mayor says it's time to finish what he started, including things like community investment and lowering crime.
Get Lottie, Dottie, and everybody to join our movement because Baltimore, our renaissance is here. Our future is now. We will move our city forward, not backwards.
Well, former Mayor Sheila Dixon is emerging as Mayor Scott's main challenger. She picked up an endorsement from Councilman Eric Costello last week. While endorsing Dixon, Costello said he had never seen this level of dysfunction within City Hall. Those remarks from Costello leading to some strong words from both Scott and Dixon.
Leadership that's failing the city is almost a laughable comment when my leadership has the city on pace to be under 300 homicides for the first time in 9 years.
First of all, he's taking credit right now for something he hasn't even done. Last 3 years, he made a promise to reduce the crime 15% every year.
Investing in our education, opening rec centers, not closing them like the person he's endorsing did when she was mayor.
Stephanie Bounds-Blake, who is Brandon's Mayor Scott's mentor, she closed the rec center. So we actually opened rec centers. So let's talk about, because I believe in giving factual information.
Well, a recent Goucher poll released in October shows Dixon leading Mayor Scott in that poll. If the mayoral primary were today, 39% of voters surveyed would back Dixon, 27% would back Mayor Scott. 23% of people would support another candidate.
Mayor Scott touting continuity as one of his campaign pillars, but the Scott administration has dealt with a number of issues over the past 3 years, including turnover in key positions. His former chief of staff, former Monzi director Shante Jackson, former Department of Public Works director Jason Mitchell, and the city's fire and police chiefs have all left in the past year, leading to critics' concern about instability within City Hall. The mayor has also failed to meet some campaign promises when it comes to public safety. As Sheila Dixon pointed out, when elected, Scott promised to reduce homicides by 15% each year of his term, and that his first year in office would end with fewer than 300 homicides. While Baltimore is on track to meet that goal this year, it took 3 years for it to happen.
The promise certainly has not been fulfilled. Murders have gone up every year except this year. So you've had a tremendous uptick in violence in the city, which is exactly the opposite of what he promised.
Well, the dip in gun violence coincides with the partnership between the city state's attorney Ivan Bates and U.S. Attorney for Maryland Eric Barron, who promised a tougher on-crime approach in the city. Since that partnership began, which includes the city of Baltimore, homicides are down 20% and non-fatal shootings are down 9%. Mayor Scott doubled down, saying he's the one responsible for the decline.
I love them both dearly. Their cases are made by police officers that work for Brandon Scott, the mayor of Baltimore City. We direct. The arrests are done by us. All the enforcement is done by us.
The mayor, smart politically, will take credit for this stuff because when you're running for re-election and numbers are going down, you want to hang a star on it.
Well, despite the decline in shootings and homicides, residents have been coming to Fox 45 for months, saying they are still worried about their safety. Fox 45's Vincent Hill has a closer look at some of these concerns.
Good afternoon, Baltimore.
As Mayor Scott touts homicides being on the decline.
As I stand before you today, we have a 20% reduction in homicides in the city of Baltimore.
But do those cheers make the people of Baltimore feel any safer? Fox 45 took that question directly to residents.
Are you concerned about your safety when you're just moving about the city?
Yes. Paula lives in Fed Hill, one of the locations seeing the spike in robberies across the city.
A lot of the robberies, earlier ones, have taken place really early in the morning when people are getting in their cars to go to work.
This robbery captured on camera just after 6 o'clock in the morning.
And I'm also concerned that it's groups of kids. You know, they come up in a car and there's 4 or 5 of them jump out.
That concern captured on camera as the victim of a robbery can be heard screaming in the background. Over in the Riverside area,
a car is pulled up, there was a gun.
More robberies.
All right, Sector 3, I'm getting an armed robbery.
Sector 3, it sounds like these are the same suspects from the one on Andre.
You want to watch your back. Well, it is about safety, right? It's primarily about safety.
Matt says he's now suspicious of everyone.
It doesn't make anybody feel good to see someone walking down the street and see that they may or may not match a description of people that are going around committing crime.
And it's not just the robberies in the area Matt is concerned with.
My wife was telling me about some kids like breaking into cars.
Oh yeah, it's all the time.
The never-ending problem of stolen cars. 3 vehicles stolen on the same day. The crimes turning neighbor against neighbor.
We want everyone to feel welcome, but at the same time, crimes like this, threaten that neighborly attitude.
Vincent Hill, Fox 45 News.
That brings us to our question of the day. Do you feel safe in Baltimore City? So far, 98% of people who voted say no. You can make your voice heard right now at foxbaltimore.com/vote.
Coming up at 5:30, Fox 45 News talks one-on-one with mayoral candidate Sheila Dixon about the crime crisis in Baltimore, her top priorities as she is back in office, and more. Connecting the gap between two parts of Baltimore County, the impact a new bridge could have.
And it looks like we're going to have plenty of rain that's going to be coming our way as we work toward tomorrow's travel. I'm going to let you know how long it's going to take for it to get in and how long it's going to take for it to get out for your holiday travels. That's coming up in my Weather Authority forecast.
A new bridge connecting communities in Baltimore County is open. City and county leaders gather for the grand opening. The new bridge crosses the Gunpowder Falls at the Lock Raven Reservoir. Local leaders say infrastructure projects like these are critical for members of the county community.
We are making historic strides in investment into the decades of disinvestment into our infrastructure. And we are here to celebrate this project together.
A bridge that will service the needs of all of our residents, people who love the NCR trail, and also preserving and protecting this incredible reservoir.
The project took about a year and a half to complete. Construction on the project began in June of last year.
Next weather maker moving our way nice and quiet through our early Tuesday. So if you have travels planned for the remainder of the afternoon, this evening, tonight, early tomorrow, should be A-OK. But the next weather maker does move in Tuesday morning. Rain develops, and on and off Tuesday afternoon could become heavy, especially Tuesday night. I think we get some better travel in on one of the busiest travel days of the year on Wednesday, but Tuesday could be a snarl. And then seasonable sun just in time for getting to wherever you're going for Thanksgiving. So HD radar, there is the next weather maker just edging onto the screen. Look at all the Winter weather advisories, yes, those are out to our west. So if you have travels west on 70 and 68, that could be a mess for you. And then there's also all kinds of wind advisories that are out, even some tornado watches that have been posted down to the Gulf Coast with this thing. So this is one of these kind of late fall, almost winter type systems that's really beginning to spin up. And that's going to push toward us, giving us really some well-needed rain. If this were any other time, we'd be happy about it. Unfortunately, it's coming just before Thanksgiving. So it's really going to kind of mess up travel for us, at least for Tuesday. Clouds already coming in. There's the rain. That's the next system. That's going to be bleeding in tonight, especially really, I think, tomorrow. Tomorrow morning after about 9, 10 o'clock, the rain moves in, and then it becomes heavier tomorrow during the p.m. 48, much cooler today. Winds out of the east at about 7. That's why it's cooler. Winds coming off the Atlantic and the Chesapeake Bay. You see there some traffic on the north side of 695 on our traffic camera network. Temperatures are all in the mid to upper 40s generally right now. Hit highs at about 51. Temperatures are running anywhere between about 8 and 15 degrees cooler than 24 hours ago. So let's go ahead, take a look at the future scan. And overnight tonight, we do have some extra clouds. Temperatures generally settling to just above freezing. Some spots north and west could be about 30, 32. Thankfully, precipitation waits until temperatures do begin to warm tomorrow. By about 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, some rain moves in, on and off lighter rains in the morning. Then during the afternoon, starts getting heavy. And there are some of those downpours. Ooh, look at that tomorrow night. You want to get away Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. I wouldn't do that. I think I'd wait until probably Wednesday during the maybe afternoon. I think things will begin clearing out a little bit better there. Could be 1 to 3 inches of solid rain coming through. This is going to be Tuesday into very early Wednesday. Wednesday's a better travel day, looking great on Thursday. Next chance of rain comes Sunday into perhaps Monday.
Coming up on Fox 45 News at 5 o'clock, restaurant workers in Baltimore City could receive a minimum wage soon, why some argue it will only hurt businesses. And a special visitor made his way to the Maryland Zoo this morning. A look at what some very nice animals got from Santa. Well, Thanksgiving is days away, but at the Maryland Zoo, they're already looking ahead for Christmas. Fox 45's Mark Clark spoke with a special guest who delivered the animals some special presents this year.
And we've got a packed house, guys. Shannon's here with us. We got Santa over here. We got Winnie in the building. So, Shannon, so much to talk about. So, lead us down this road here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, at the Maryland Zoo, we're kicking off the holidays this weekend with our Holidays promotion, which features, of course, admission to the zoo where you can see our amazing collection. But we also feature opportunities to meet and greet with a special friend that we have here today. There's photo ops with some of our favorite holiday princesses. There's story readings, train rides, carousel rides. We are also featuring a holiday special on our VR. So there's tons to do here at the Maryland Zoo.
And so, Santa, we're so excited to see you again. They can come out and take pictures and talk to Santa. How's the vibe this year, Santa? What are the kids talking about?
Well, the vibe's good. The kids are all excited. Of course, it's a little early, but they'll really start picking up next couple of weeks. After Thanksgiving, it goes kind of crazy.
And Santa, what's the secret? The luxurious beard all these years. Can you give us a secret?
Mrs. Claus.
Oh, wait a minute. We got the secret.
Good cooking and all the great cookies I get to eat when I visit houses.
Now, is Winnie at the North Pole? The Winnie? No, she's from Africa, aren't you, Winnie?
That's right, I am, Mark. That's a good question. Good question. Anyway, I gotta go. Okay, thanks, Winnie.
So thanks, Santa. Santa, okay, so one more thing. What should we know heading into the weekend?
Absolutely. So we are going into the season of giving, and so this week we're launching our Giving Tuesday campaign, which actually starts tomorrow. It's a week-long fundraiser campaign that ends on Giving Tuesday, so next Tuesday. And this year it's centered around our big cats. We have 6 big cats here at the Maryland Zoo. It costs approximately $200,000 a year to care for them.
Wow.
So if you're a cat person, an animal person, and you're in the mood to give over the next week, please consider supporting the Maryland Zoo. We have lots to offer the entire family. It's a good way to get out and spend time together.
Well, thanks so much, guys. Santa, great to see you. Winnie, always a great time. And Shannon, great to see you. Guys, come on. We got one of the best zoos ever. Come check it out.
Well, as temperatures drop, so are prices at the Maryland Zoo. If you want to go out and see the animals this winter, a general admission ticket will cost $18. The zoo says animals like prairie dogs, African penguins, like Winnie you just saw, cheetahs, and lions are likely to be visible in the colder weather. That deal starts December 1st, by the way. And Fox 45 has some special news for you. Take a look at this. Fox 45's very own Maxine Stryker, one of my co-anchors, welcomes her new baby girl, Marlo, into the world. Weighing in at 6 pounds and 11 ounces, Marlo is a healthy little bundle of joy who came just a little bit earlier. Congratulations to Maxine, her husband Sean, and big brother Macklin right there, who's all excited. Marlo, you're beautiful. Well, coming up on Fox 45 News at 5 o'clock, President Biden celebrates his 81st birthday, the concerns surrounding his fitness for a second term in office. A robbery in Canton has residents on edge, how the thieves were able to break into homes through the rooftop area.
A local family suffers a traumatic home invasion. I'm Rebecca Pryor, and coming up, I'll explain why that family and city leaders are now criticizing police for a shockingly slow response.
A man takes justice into his own hands when police say a teen attempts to steal his car. I'm Alexa Ashwell. It's yet another case of a victim fighting back what one law enforcement official believes is feeding the issue.
A councilman did not disclose his property investments on his latest ethics disclosure, raising some questions. I'm Mackenzie Frost, and coming up, we'll explain why the councilman says he didn't have to.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 5.
Fox 45 News continues to follow breaking news tonight. A second suspect in the Morgan State shooting is now under arrest. 18-year-old Javon Williams is facing attempted murder charges for his alleged role in the campus shooting last month. 5 people were injured in that shooting. Police identified Williams as a suspect soon after that shooting. He was arrested in D.C. last week. A 17-year-old suspect also facing charges.
It's just like everything you hear that happens around here. It's like teenagers just terrorizing the neighborhood.
A mother of 2 in Canton is the latest victim of the juvenile crime crisis in Baltimore. The thieves, according to police, took to deck areas to break into homes, and now many are questioning the response time of the police department. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kai Jackson.
And I'm Mary Bubala. This is just the latest incident to rock a Baltimore City neighborhood.
And these acts of crime are also causing some to take matters into their own hands.
We have team coverage tonight, starting with Fox 45's Rebecca Pryor. She has more on that home invasion in Canton and why residents say calls to 911 are falling on deaf ears. Rebecca?
Yeah, that's right. I spoke to a mother who says a terrifying break-in has shattered her sense of security, not only because her sleep was suddenly interrupted by a masked intruder, but also because she claims police took over an hour to respond.
I'm really struggling with feeling comfortable in our house.
On a typically quiet street in the heart of Canton.
I was half asleep, didn't think much of it.
Friday night rumblings inside a young family's row home initially ignored.
My husband was out celebrating a friend's birthday. Probably 11:30, I heard what sounded like my husband coming back.
Mere moments after tucking her children into bed.
She was having a nightmare, so I brought her upstairs.
A mother of 2 girls, ages 1 and 3, who asked we not show her face.
I just don't want them to know what I look like. And
suddenly coming face to face with a nightmare of her own.
And I saw through the glass door where our bed faces a body drop down from the high roof.
A group of masked men dressed in black breaking in from above and through the back door.
We made eye contact. He was a teen, 16, 17 at most.
Without hesitation, the mother grabbing her daughters, barricading them in a second-floor bedroom and calling 911 for help.
I really had no time to really think. It was just like the action of needing to protect my children.
But she says that help,
they didn't think this was an urgent matter,
was over an hour away.
How in the world would it, does it take that long to when it was like an active burglary?
Several neighbors living along Hudson and Decker Street sharing similar stories on social media. One writing, I heard them on my roof. I was so scared I bolted out of bed. Another sharing this surveillance video of a suspected intruder hopping from house to house.
I later learned that we had several neighbors that had made 3 911 calls prior to the break-in because they saw it all happening. They saw these kids jumping walls and jumping in and out of backyards and then scaling up to people's roof decks.
How can residents feel safe when a break-in happens and it takes police an hour to respond, especially a mother with young children inside?
Yeah, so I spoke to both Major Saunders, who's the major for Southeast, as well as Commissioner Worley, just to express my incredible concern.
Canton's Councilman Zeke Cohen claiming BPD leadership, assuring him they'd be investigating the incident.
Any response that takes that long is just completely unacceptable.
But BPD spokesperson Lindsay Eldridge sending Fox 45 a statement this afternoon reading in part, quote, "We responded to the scene as quickly as possible. Eldridge going on to claim the suspect was able to enter the home through an unlocked door and sent a video on burglary prevention.
An hour police response time is deplorable. It's just horrible.
Upgrades to their home security system was this family's first response, especially knowing when minutes matter. The quickest police response could be over an hour away.
It does not make me feel comfortable living here knowing that that's how long it takes to get help when you really need it.
The family tells me that those intruders managed to steal power tools, an Alexa clock, and a laptop, totaling about $3,000. But they also say that they are just relieved that no one was hurt. Reporting live in Canton, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
Rebecca, thank you. Well, this is not the first time we've heard concern over Baltimore police response time. Last month, City Councilman Eric Costello sounded the alarm after this robbery right there in his district. A man on a scooter was approached by two cars. When the passengers got out, they threatened him, stole his wallet, then chased him as he ran away. Councilman Costello says despite a 911 call from the victim, officers did not follow up with an investigation, never contacted the victim again, and didn't look for security footage of the attack. The councilman doubled down on his criticism of police response times last week while endorsing Sheila Dixon for mayor.
Well, the slow response to the juvenile crime has some city residents taking matters into their own hands. Baltimore police say a man chased down a teen who tried to steal his car, then held that teen down until officers arrived. It's the latest example of citizens fighting back against criminals. Alexa Ashwell joins us live with the concern. Alexa?
Yes, Kai, investigators say the teen had to be taken to the hospital with minor injuries, but in some of these cases, we're seeing either the suspect or the victim seriously hurt or even killed. As you just mentioned, over the weekend, police say a man held down a 16-year-old after he caught him trying to steal his car in southeast Baltimore. Just last week, police sources confirmed two teens were shot by someone they were attempting to rob at gunpoint. And last month, a 16-year-old was killed after he was shot during an attempted robbery in northeast Baltimore. And it's not just suspects turning to victims. You may recall Daryl Benner, shot and killed just steps from his home in Canton after attempting to intervene with suspects who were stealing his nephew's car this past summer. Neighborhood leaders say people are living in fear, and law enforcement experts say police staffing is part of the problem.
You know, you should always be situationally aware, but the fact is it's really hard to defend against a crime when you're, going about your day and a car rolls up and comes to a stop behind you, and then within 10 seconds you're surrounded by people with handguns.
I do think people are at a boiling point when it comes to being the victim. Baltimore's down over 400 officers. That absolutely is directly related to call response time, officers on the street to prevent crime.
Now, as for this latest case that happened over the weekend, police say the teen was transported to the Department of Juvenile Services. But what happened to him next, that's of course not known to the public due to his age and privacy, which some say is part of the problem when it comes to consequence and accountability. Reporting live in North Baltimore, Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
All right, Alexa, thank you. And that brings us to our question of the day. Do you feel safe in Baltimore? So far, 98% of those who voted say no. You can make your voice heard right now at foxbaltimore.com/vote.
Elected leaders still have a few months to file their next ethics disclosure forms, but it's what some did not include in previous filings that's raising some questions. But it sounds like we've got some answers tonight. Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost joins us live with more. Mackenzie?
Yeah, Mary, so Councilman Robert Stokes bought two vacant properties from the city in 2022. These properties are in the Oliver community. We went out there earlier today, and construction is well underway. The efforts to turn these into single-family homes are happening right now, and we know that the councilman did not disclose these properties on his 2022 ethics forms, which taxpayer watchdog experts say that disclosure forms are key, especially when it comes to government transparency and allowing voters to see the full picture of an elected leader's financial history.
There is a huge question of conflict of interest as to how much they're paying for it, their involvement in development companies, and just how much they're going to profit from these properties.
Now, I talked to the councilman earlier today, and he says he didn't omit anything. The fact that this property was not finalized, the sale wasn't finalized until February of this year. He says that's why he didn't disclose them on the 2022 disclosure. And according to online property records, that checks out. Mary?
Yeah, that makes sense then. Mackenzie, what is the ethics board saying about this?
Yeah, at first it appeared as if there was some sort of gray area here with this disclosure, especially since the Board of Estimates did approve the sale in 2022. So I talked to the ethics board back and forth a little bit today, and really the ultimate decision is that whenever a sale of a property is finalized, that's the year an elected leader needs to disclose them on their ethics disclosure forms. Councilman Stokes says he intends to disclose these properties on his 2023 forms, which are due in January. We're live in the newsroom. Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Mackenzie, thank you. Another council member is facing questions about a side gig. The Baltimore Banner outlined several members' extra income, including Councilman Zeke Cohen's consulting work with Open Society Foundations. On his 2022 ethics disclosure form, Cohen says he helps leaders create plans to implement trauma-informed care. He says his consulting work is done in cities outside of Baltimore, but he did disclose his contracting work with Open Society with several Baltimore city agencies. Open Society Foundations was founded by George Soros in 1979. It funds groups and projects in more than 120 countries. David Williams weighs in.
This is something voters should pay very close attention to. Very curious to see Zeke have these two different lives play out.
Well, this isn't the first time Soros has been involved with elected leaders in Baltimore. In 2019, then City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby went to Portugal with a group that has received millions of dollars from Open Society. When she came back, she announced she would no longer prosecute possession of small drug possession crimes. Well, Cohen tells Fox 45 News he stands by his work, saying his experience has allowed him to learn what other places are doing to address mental health and bringing that knowledge back to Baltimore.
Next weather maker is moving in, and unfortunately, it is just in time for getaway travels for Thanksgiving. Now, a little caveat here, it's not going to be the entire getaway time for Thanksgiving, but there will be, again, the risk of getting some showers, that's my thoughts, as we head through probably Tuesday. Tuesday morning is when this is going to start, and I think into Tuesday afternoon, that's when things could get quite heavy around here, especially Tuesday night. That's when that big band of yellows, oranges, and reds down to our south and west heads our way. It won't be the severe weather, but I think we will have the potential of some heavy rain. For now, if you have any plans on getting out of town via air for the rest of today, looking good here in Baltimore, Chicago, Atlanta, Houston hub. There's some delays there as well as in San Francisco, LA, and Denver. Just fine as well for travels out to the West Coast. I'm going to let you know when the rain's going to move in worst and when it gets out of here finally for holiday travels. Now Thanksgiving looks in a couple of minutes. My Weather Authority forecast.
Jonathan, thanks. Still ahead tonight, the 2024 mayoral race heating up. Former mayor and candidate Sheila Dixon joins us live in studio to talk about the top issues facing Baltimore.
I'm Christine Frizzell in Washington with a look ahead at the next chapter of the impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden.
President Biden turns 81 today, making him the oldest American president in office. As the president celebrates his advanced age is a question mark with voters for the upcoming election. A national CNN poll from earlier this month finds just 25% of voters believe Biden has the stamina and sharpness to serve efficiently as president. 53% feel former President GOP frontrunner Donald Trump does. Another CNN poll published last week finds 58% of voters have a poor assessment of President Biden in comparison with Trump, with 53%. Tonight, all is quiet on Capitol Hill, but with lawmakers away, we're getting new hints about action ahead over a controversial effort to try to impeach President Joe Biden. As House Republicans sound alarm bells about family member to family member loan payments through the Bidens, Democrats accuse them of making illegitimate claims. National correspondent Christine Frizzell reports.
Thousands of miles away from Capitol Hill, top Republican lawmakers now hinting of the activity that awaits on the other side of Thanksgiving break, an intensified impeachment inquiry into President Biden.
We have systematically followed every place the facts have taken us each and every day. And now it's moved even closer because now we've got the subpoenas going in to get the bank statements.
Subpoenas issued earlier this month to the president's son, Hunter Biden, his brother, James Biden, and a close associate, Rob Walker. They're expected to be grilled about various business deals with China and Russia. Republicans say were in exchange for access to Joe Biden while he served as vice president, with more financial transactions they also call suspect.
We've all wondered how Hunter Biden's continued to live this lavish lifestyle. We wondered who was buying the artwork. We wondered how he was paying his child support payments and getting by on a lifestyle fit for the rich and famous. Now we know.
The White House now demanding the subpoenas be withdrawn. In a letter to Comer and Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan writing, they appear so determined to impeach the president that they have misrepresented the facts, ignored overwhelming evidence disproving the claims, and have shifted the rationale for the inquiry. Democrats have insisted for months the effort is simply following orders from former President Trump, who even posted on social media, "Impeach the bum," adding, "They did it to us."
This impeachment inquiry was a result of President Trump's pressure. The majority sits completely empty-handed with no evidence of any presidential wrongdoing, no smoking gun, no smoke.
For now, those subpoenas remain in place, with Rob Walker scheduled to come and answer questions behind closed doors next week, with James Biden scheduled to do so on December 6th and Hunter Biden on December 13th. In Washington, I'm Christine Frizzell.
A storm system is developing that could seriously impact Thanksgiving travel. According to the Weather Prediction Center, a wave of inclement weather is developing over the country's midsection starting this morning. It'll last over the next couple of days. Some areas will experience thunderstorms, gusty winds, heavy rain, and snow at higher elevations. The combination of extreme weather and larger volumes of holiday travel could increase chances of longer delay times. Maybe that's at airports and on the roads. Well, taking a live look over the Inner Harbor right now, we are expecting to see a washout tomorrow heading into the holiday. Let's get right over to Chief Meteorologist Jonathan Myers. Jonathan, give us that forecast.
Yeah, Mary, that is the weather maker that is moving our way. You saw there the greens on the map, the rain, the blues on the map. That was all snow. Yes, snow, widespread snow up into New York State, portions of New England, even as close as maybe, say, out toward Cumberland. There could be some ice mixed in with this stuff as it starts in Maryland. But here, it should be primarily rain. But if you want to get away this afternoon, this evening, tonight should be okay. Now, tomorrow, that's a different story. Showers develop during the morning, some rain during the afternoon. Some of that becomes heavy at times and lasts into Tuesday night. Better travel develops for Wednesday, so hallelujah there. That's a big travel day. And seasonable sunshine comes back in time for Thanksgiving. Now, as I mentioned, all across portions of New York State, they're on standby for potential snow and ice, even as close again as Western Maryland, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountains up into Western PA. You know, if you make that travel to Pittsburgh, it gets kind of dicey there. That could be a problem tomorrow morning as this rain moves in. There are winter weather advisories out there into Western Maryland, Pennsylvania, as well as West Virginia for that potential of some icing. For us, it's going to be all rain, but there's plenty of it that is moving east. For now, we're under clouds, but there is that next weather maker. That's what we're talking about, all the rain out there. Right now, you take a look in the background at our Towson cam. This is actually our traffic camera in Towson. 695, got some volume there, but overall, the traffic is not as bad as you'd probably expect. Temperatures are in the 40s. We do have some clouds, but no weather travel problems yet. I think things are going to really be more problematic for tomorrow. We are running about 5 to 10 degrees below where we were just 24 hours ago. And we are going to remain cooler into this evening. Lots of temperatures falling through the 40s, even some 30s, especially north of the city by tomorrow morning. Could have some low 30s there. So it's going to be a chilly start, but nothing coming down out of the skies, thankfully. But then the temperatures begin to get a little milder, and I say a little with air quotes because it's only in the 40s to around 50 tomorrow afternoon. Look at that rain coming down. By about 10, 11 o'clock, the rain develops. It does not stop. It, in fact, gets heavier Tuesday night. Look at that red and yellow coming through. And then as we work into early Wednesday, potentially, that's when this stuff finally pulls out just in time for big travels on Wednesday afternoon. 1 to maybe 2, 3 inches of rain. We need the rain, and we're going to get it. Unfortunately, the timing not great. Better day coming for Wednesday. Most of it's rain-free. Thursday for Thanksgiving, great. And heading home, could encounter some more showers by Sunday.
Jonathan, thank you. As the conflict in the Middle East continues, new video emerging hints at an alarming reality about where hostages are being held. Plus, brazen acts of crime taking over big cities across the nation, how leaders are taking matters into their own hands. Israel says it has proof Hamas held hostages at the Al-Shifa hospital in Gaza. Israel's military released videos this weekend, which it says shows 2 hostages being taken into the hospital on October 7th. This comes after Israel's military raided the hospital in what it called a targeted operation against Hamas. Hamas has claimed it brought several hostages to the hospitals for medical treatment. CNN says the identity of the individuals cannot be independently verified. The fighting is also picking up near another hospital in northern Gaza, where thousands of patients and civilians are sheltering. Medical workers say an Israeli shell hit the second floor, causing major damage. Those claims could not be verified, underscoring the difficulty of getting reliable intelligence from the front lines of this war.
It's ongoing firing and gunfire, drone fire, shelling in the area.
American diplomats are still pushing for a deal that would prompt an exchange of hostages for a ceasefire, but it is still unclear if that will happen. As the fighting rages on throughout the Gaza Strip, a rare piece of good news in all of this: 31 premature babies in extremely critical condition have been transferred safely from Gaza's Al-Shifa hospital to Egypt. They crossed the border as gunfire and shelling continued around the compound. Currently, more than 250 patients, though, remain trapped. Coming up after the break, Baltimore City restaurant workers could soon receive minimum wage, why some argue it will have negative impacts.
I'm Kale Gaskins. Coming up, why critics are going after big city leaders for the way they're tackling the rising crime crisis.
Mayor Brandon Scott is officially running for re-election, making that announcement this past weekend. The mayor says it's time to finish what he started, including things like community investment and lowering crime.
Get Lottie, Dottie, and everybody
to join our movement because Baltimore, our renaissance is here. Our future is now. We will move our city forward, not backwards.
Former Mayor Sheila Dixon is emerging as Mayor Scott's main challenger. She picked up an endorsement from Councilman Eric Costello last week.
Candidate Dixon is joining us live in the studio. Ms. Dixon, thank you for being here tonight.
Thanks for having me.
During that endorsement from Councilman Costello, he said that he'd never seen the level of, in his words, dysfunction in City Hall. What do you think? What do you think that says about the Scott administration according to Mr. Costello?
Well, not just according to Councilman Costello. I have to deal with the city on a regular basis with my clients, and I can see the dysfunction, not in one agency, but practically in every agency. And that is reflected of the leadership, you know, and it's reflected in who you hire, the people that work for you. I've never seen city government so dysfunctional as it is now.
We know key department heads in city government have left in the last year. We've done lots of reporting on it, including the MONSI director, DPW director, police and fire chiefs.
Health commissioner.
Exactly, the health commissioner. What do you think these departures say about the Scott administration?
Obviously, there is a problem there, and a mayor and a leader has to be able to juggle multiple things at one time. And it doesn't appear that this administration is able to do that. You have to retain people who have experience. Yes, you want new ideas, fresh ideas, but you need a good balance. And it appears as though that there are people who are there that just can't get the job done and are ineffective or not being able to resolve so many of the challenges that we face, from basic fundamental things, keeping the roads clean, dealing with potholes, recycling, you know, trash collection, graffiti. You know, you can't do a 90-day blitz. This is something that has to happen every day.
During his 2020 campaign, Mayor Scott promised to reduce homicides by 15% each year of his term. That hasn't happened, and that his first year in office would end with fewer than 300 homicides. And again, so far, that hasn't happened. You know, I remember the last day of Kurt Schmoke's day in office. I interviewed him, and I said, what's the most important thing you learned as mayor? You know what he said to me? He said, I learned the word mayor as a verb. And I'll never forget that. It was really eye-opening. What are your thoughts about Mayor Scott's claims versus the reality of the city?
Well, the reality is that people don't feel safe. And even though crime is going down a little bit, there's a team effort. We have a U.S. attorney who has made it very clear that they're going to go after the violent offenders. We have a new state's attorney over the last year who's been a part of that team. That's the difference in what my administration did years ago in reducing it and being consistent, is it's a team effort. And the mayor made promises that he was going to reduce it. It's coming down, but it's because of the team effort with the prosecutor at the federal level and the prosecutor at the state level. The state's attorney has made the big difference in what's happening with the crime.
All right, former Mayor Sheila Dixon, thank you for coming in and speaking with us tonight about issues in the city. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
It has become abundantly clear in Washington, D.C. that people are dining out less, they are tipping less, some are not tipping at all, and servers are taking a significant reduction in earnings than what they are used to prior to the elimination of tip credit.
As the Restaurant Association of Maryland says, D.C. is feeling the impact of changes to pay for servers and bartenders. Fox 45 News has learned there is talk of bringing that very same model here to Baltimore City.
Fox 45's Amy Simpson is live right now. Amy, what are you learning?
Yes, so Mary Kai, a source inside City Hall telling me that legislation is being drafted, a proposal to potentially raise the tipped minimum wage here in Baltimore City. But some in the industry say it could actually be bad news for servers and bartenders. In Baltimore's Little Italy.
And they usually go, oh, let's get some Italian.
Cafe Gia is getting ready for the holiday season.
So I know we're going to be busy probably Wednesday night, then Friday and Saturday night, because they want to break free from the turkeyness of it all.
But post-pandemic and amidst soaring inflation, this small business owner says it's been a tough few years, trying not to raise prices for customers.
We had to be smart about it.
Now news of another possible challenge on the horizon, as a source inside Baltimore City Hall tells Fox 45 News
There's legislation being drafted to increase the city's minimum wage for tipped workers. Right now, Maryland's tipped wage sits at $3.63 an hour.
It's going to put a hurting on a lot of restaurants. The guests will assume that they're getting paid $15 an hour. They will not tip. And in 90% of the situations, that means that that server will be making less than they did before.
This event page also seen online, titled Bill Introduction for One Fair Wage in Baltimore, scheduled for Wednesday night, December 6th, inviting people to join efforts to raise the hourly tipped wage to the state's minimum wage. But right now, no agenda item for this is on council's calendar.
3 times this year alone, this type of legislation has been defeated because of the overwhelming opposition from tipped employees.
The Restaurant Association of Maryland says similar efforts statewide, plus in both Montgomery and Prince George's counties, prompted hundreds of tipped workers to speak out.
They are looking to save their tips, and they're looking to keep the current tipping system in place. The reason being, they earn significantly more than minimum wage.
The Employment Policies Institute also predicting a failed attempt here.
The reason they have failed repeatedly is because tipped workers have shown up in opposition to what they're trying to do. And I expect something very similar is going to happen in Baltimore.
As this small business in Little Italy says it would feel the impact.
I think to just wave a wand and say this is how we're going to do it for everybody, I think that's a big mistake.
Now today I reached out to the member of City Council who's reportedly drafting this legislation. We'd like to know what the proposal will look like and when it'll be introduced, but so far, no response. Reporting live tonight, Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
Thank you, Amy. A new survey finds nearly 6 out of 10 Americans tip 15% or less for an average meal at a sit-down restaurant. According to the Pew Research Center poll, that includes 2% who say they wouldn't leave any tip. Only about a quarter of people said that they would tip 20% or higher. Many also agree the landscape around tipping has changed. About 7% out of 10 Americans say it's expected in more places today than it was 5 years ago. That survey included nearly 12,000 U.S. adults.
Confusion in Harford County over a request to house hundreds of migrants. The county executive and a county councilman at odds over the request, despite both being on the same side of the issue. Last week, a group of Harford County hotel and motel owners sent a letter to the county government asking if they would be allowed to rehome migrants in New York at their facilities in Harford County. That request led to a letter from County Councilman Aaron Penman to County Executive Bob Casserly, calling for him to deny the migrants' move to Maryland. This morning on Fox 45 Morning News, Casserly told our Megan Gillen he never planned on letting migrants into Harford County, and he is taking issue with some of Penman's comments on his response.
This was an outfit who was basically contracting with New York City.
So you never said that you wanted to have those immigrants come to live to Harford County?
No. That was never. There was never an invitation, suggestion, or anything else. In fact, so.
Do you have any intention of having that in the future?
No, there's no. That's an absolute non-starter.
Where do you think the confusion came in? Why did the councilman assume that you were in favor of that?
Yeah, look, this is a councilman this is his, I think, 4th false allegation against my administration. He's got some vendettas he's pursuing, and that's unfortunate. This is not the kind of matter that you ought to be just throwing around and playing politics with. This is very serious.
Just about an hour ago on Fox 45 News at 4, Councilman Penman responded to the comments from Executive Casserly.
I was concerned for the community. I felt the community needed to learn of this so they can have an understanding and provide input to the county executive. At no point did I say the county executive would be in support of undocumented immigrants coming to our county. That was in my press release. I just wanted the community to weigh in on it, because what I didn't want is buses coming in the middle of the night and undocumented immigrants getting off at our local hotels. I thought it should be a conversation with the community.
Councilman Penman went on to say that infrastructure issues within the county, one of the reasons he is opposed to allowing undocumented immigrants to come in.
As residents of big cities complain about crime, voters may have the final say. National correspondent Kayla Gaskins has more from Washington.
Seattle's traditionally liberal politics shifting toward the center as a wave of new moderate candidates win seats on city council.
People aren't just hoping for change. I think the results make clear that people are demanding it.
Only 3 of 9 council members who led the 2020 Defund the Police movement are on track to return. Recent polling shows the vast majority of voters were not confident with the city's approach to public safety. The winning candidates campaigned heavily on combating